All right, a massive flotilla with about 20 boats has set sail to deliver aid to Gaza. Greta Thunberg is on the flotilla, so is a Game of Thrones actor. Now, a massive crowd turned up to see them off, and they are so ill-informed, both the people on the boats and those in the crowd cheering them, that they all clearly believe Israel is not delivering aid into Gaza, and they want to go and save the day. But Greta was caught out when a journalist asked her what she thought of the terror group Hamas.
We know your views on what's happening and Israel's actions. Can I just ask you your thoughts on Hamas? They're still holding hostages. What would your message to Hamas be?
Again, there is a genocide going on. Palestinians have been living under suffocating oppression, and when there is an occupational force, this is not my views. By international law, people have a right to resist that occupation.
I mean, when she can't properly condemn Hamas, I mean, it's a joke. And her claims of an Israeli genocide and deliberate starvation obviously are wrong too. The Free Press did an investigation recently where they found that 12 viral images of starvation in Gaza failed to disclose the complicated medical histories of those children. Yet their tragic images flooded social media, including being spread by international aid organisations. They were used as supposed proof that Israel was deliberately starving children. Now, it is utterly untrue. There has been hunger in Gaza because Hamas has been looting aid and reselling it at inflated prices. It's reportedly made them around $500 million. So Israel set up its own aid distribution centre to directly feed Palestinians. Australian actor Nate Buzz went to have a look a few days ago, and here's some of what he saw.
I'm in one of the distribution sites of the GHF, the incredible work they've been doing since May. This is what is inside these bags, what Palestinians are coming to collect every single day. You can see oil, we have pasta, lentils, this is a bag of flour, tahini. Now, since the beginning of operations, GHF have only had 3 days where they weren't able to operate. Inside this box, this will feed a family of 5.5 people for 3.5 days. This is the only organization right now in Gaza that's actually getting food directly into the hands of Palestinian families.
There could be up to 10,000 people behind me right now collecting aid. There was a lot of boxes there that were quite highly stacked, and as you can see, they've just been reduced now down to the floor.
How many meals have been distributed as of today?
So I'm not sure of the exact number, but I think we're going to hit 140 million meals delivered in 3 months today.
And Nate joins me now live from Israel. Nate, good to see you again. So tell me what you saw when you visited the aid centre.
Yeah, look, first of all, it was extremely important for me to visit. A lot of criticism has come claiming that maybe Israel was the ones that encouraged me to go in. I'm only the 5th civilian to visit this site, but it was actually all on me. No one reached out to me. No one gave me permission. I've been chasing down GHF and different organizations to try and see it with my own eyes, understanding how committed the Palestinian narrative is about starvation. So what I saw was the exact opposite. I watched in excess of 10,000 Gazans enter into this specific site of GHF. They have 3 sites running at the moment, and they run twice a day, every single day. Since May, they have been successful in delivering massive amounts of aid. Now, what I didn't see was starvation, and I was able to get as close as you possibly can, Sharri, to Gazans that day. I was having conversations with them. I was face-to-face with them. I mean, this is as close as you can possibly get.
It has been difficult to get to the bottom of the situation on the ground, just how extensive the hunger is or the lack of food is, because the Palestinian media, so much of it is propaganda and turns out to be false. So you just can't trust what is coming out of there. And all the evidence points to the fact that Israel is doing everything it can to feed Gazans. And I think, by the way, this is even unprecedented, really. I mean, it doesn't have to, yeah.
Yeah, just to give you some perspective, you know, in Rafah, where this distribution site is located, it's behind the front line of where the IDF is fighting Hamas, which means they have to allow up to 10,000 men of fighting age behind their front line. I mean, that's unheard of in any sort of military campaign against a terrorist threat like Hamas. So they're actually risking their own soldiers and their own security to allow Palestinians to come and collect this aid. Now, what I did see and the conversations I had with people were the absolute opposite of what the world is trying to present, particularly Hamas, about this starvation crisis. I saw healthy people. I didn't see anyone who was emaciated. If you can remember the hostages that were released, back in early in the year with Ohad Or and Eli Sharabi. I mean, they looked like they had not had any substantial amount of food for months. I mean, Ohad, who I interviewed, he was in Gaza for 491 days, and he was to a point where he was almost at death. We saw the footage of Avitar David recently where he is absolutely starving. There is no food. These people were not starving. The people I spoke to were not starving. And, I spoke to one woman. Obviously, I wasn't allowed to film these people from risk of what Hamas could potentially do to them. But during my conversation with her, I asked her a simple question. I said, what is the source of your suffering here in Gaza? Now, I didn't want to lead her into the answer of Hamas. I wanted her to answer it for herself.
Yeah, good
and the
question.
answer she gave me was shocking. She said, it's the men. She didn't say Hamas. She just said, it's the men. The men in Gaza take everything, and we, as the women, get absolutely nothing. And so what's amazing about GHF is they're actually separating the men and the women in their distribution. The men will come in first. They'll run in. They'll grab as much aid as they can. They're collecting it. They're ripping boxes, pulling out flour, taking it as they go. I saw fighting amongst Palestinians. I saw 2 Palestinians throwing rocks at each other to try and get food, not because of a desperation, just because there is such a mentality and not a communal, like, let's all be in this together and let's help each other. But it was just like men fighting over food to get what they wanted. Now, a lot of the people coming into these distribution sites were getting food so they could sell it in the market. So that problem still exists. And also, many of the young men that were there were covering their faces, and a lot of them would probably have deep associations with Hamas or even in support of what Hamas has been doing for the last 22 months. So it's quite surreal, because I'm talking to young men and I'm asking them where they're from, and the answers would be Rafah, Jabalia, Khan Yunis. Now, me being so engaged in this conflict, I know full well the radicalization and the level of celebration that was unfolding in Khan Yunis and Jabalia on the 7th of October when Israelis were being dragged back from their in the communities around them. So you're talking to people who very well could be in support of Hamas or have moved their support away from Hamas because they know that Hamas is not the solution anymore. Yeah. But when this woman told me that the men are the problem, it broke my heart, because she also said this, which counters the entire argument that Greta Thunberg makes, that they're living under this horrible occupation and Gaza was an open prison. She specifically said to me, because I asked her, what was Gaza like on October 6th? Before this war started? And she said it was a paradise. It was heaven. That's how she described it. So everything that's being presented is just pure propaganda. And I guess what's frustrating about this is it takes people like myself to actually go into Gaza, put ourselves in a situation of risk, because this is the site where Hamas threw a grenade at security personnel to disrupt the food distribution. We're doing this so we can explain to the world that what you're seeing, what even the Australian government is claiming is happening in Gaza, is absolutely not the truth. Yeah. It is a complicated situation, but that complication purely comes because Hamas is still committed to fighting. They're still committed to disrupting, and they're still committed to getting their major source of economy, which is to control the aid. I mean, just in August, the UN admitted that 93.6% of their aid trucks were stolen by Hamas. So they have a 7% success rate at getting aid to civilians.
And yet Israel is entirely to blame in the eyes of the Australian government and the world. Nate, you have been absolutely unbelievable since October 7. Your message, your advocacy, your reporting of the facts, just so important and so courageous. And I know it's come at a great cost to you professionally and personally as well. And we just have to say thank you for that. And this is now your life. You're basically dedicating your life to it. And, you know, you're one of the few people who does have a big reach. You've got millions of followers on Instagram and other channels. So thank you very much for doing what you're doing and, of course, for being here this evening.